What's up everyone? Welcome back to Just Finished Coding. This is part 3 of our full Pygame course in Python, so let's get coding.
Just finished coding.
Now quick interjection here, if you've not watched part 2 of the series, please watch it before you come here because we're picking up from where we left off and you'll be very lost. In case this is your first time in this entire series and you've not yet installed Pygame on your computer, then make sure you check part 1 as well. If you're still here, I'm going to assume that you've done those two things, in which case let's get on with our Space Invaders game. And in this video, what I'm going to be doing is dealing with the player movement as well as our intro screen full of instructions. Let's get right into it. Since our intro screen is going to happen before all of our main loop, what I'm going to do is right after we load in the background image, I'm going to make in a function for the intro screen. So I'm going to say def intro underscore screen, and this is going to be the function which is going to be responsible for bringing up my screen. So what I'm going to do right here is we obviously need to load in an image very similar to the way we did in the main loop. And since we haven't loaded the image yet, I'll be doing that right now. So I'm going to leave two spaces right there, and I'm going to say intro underscore screen is equal to p.image.load. And in case you look at my project directory, you can see that I have, I'm not really sure where it is, but if you look, yeah, I think this one. You can see this one which is called intro.screen.png, and that is the image which we will be loading. So I'm going to say pygame.image.load within quotes intro screen.png. Now obviously this is going to be a pretty messed up scale. So what I'm going to do is very similar to the background, and I'm just going to say intro screen is equal to p.transform.scale, and here I'm just going to type in intro screen followed by a tuple with the xval and yval, and that is pretty much it. So this will resize the intro screen according to the way we want it. And now we can get into this loop. So since I'm going to be using a variable which is not within the scope, I'm going to declare it a global variable. So I'm going to say global intro screen. Okay. And this isn't really required. I think your program would still work without this, but I'm just going to go ahead and do it. Okay. So I'm going to leave a space, and here's what I need to do. First, declare a boolean variable. I'm going to call it intro, and intro is going to be set to true. Okay. And right after this, I'm going to run into a main while loop. So while intro. So this is going, this while loop is going to contain everything that's going to happen when our intro screen is set up. Okay. So while intro, I'm going to say win.blit. Okay. And this is, I'm just blitting in our intro screen. So I'm going to say intro screen followed by 0, 0. Now I'm not sure I explained these coordinates in the previous video. So basically your Pygame, your Pygame window starts with the coordinates 0, 0 on the top left of the screen, and then the y value increases as we come down and the x value goes up as we move to the right. So there aren't really any negative values, and that's why I like Pygame compared to Scratch, where there's still a lot of things that we need to figure out, especially when we're doing math. And I do get confused between these two languages, but Pygame is easier most of the time. Alright, so once we've blitted this on the screen, obviously this isn't going to have any impact if we do not update the screen. So I'm going to say p.display.update. Okay, and this would work out. I mean, obviously we can't exit the intro just as yet, but this would, keep the intro screen when we do call the function. But the problem is that one, the user cannot, close the window, and two, like I said, he cannot move on to the main game. So what I'm going to do is to copy paste this code right here. Okay, so I'm going to copy this because this is responsible for closing our window. So I think there's no reason not to copy that. Alright, so instead of run is equal to false, what I'm going to say is intro equal false. Okay, and right here I'm just going to replace the event with an e just so that we don't have any interlapping variables, although there isn't really a problem with that. Okay, so once you have this in place, now let's get into making sure that if the key is pressed, then the intro screen would close down. To do that, what I'm going to do is to scroll down to some fresh space, and I'm going to say key, or just k, equals to pygame.keys, or key I think, dot get pressed. Okay, and once you have this, now you can say if k, okay, and then follow that up with a square bracket, k p dot k underscore, and I think I did it for the a key, so I'm going to say k underscore a. Okay, and right after this, here's what we need to do if that key is pressed. And if that key is pressed, obviously we need to set intro to be false, and this would exit the loop. Okay, that is pretty much it. Now if we have music or something, which we will have later on, we'd have to stop it and all that stuff, but that's not required for now. There is a small error in our code, however, and that is within this event. Okay, and the reason there's an error is because just setting the intro to be false would just make us get out of this function. And if the user is closing the Pygame window, then it means that he wants to exit the game. So we need the game to basically terminate immediately after the user, quits the screen. So the way we can do that is, I think I mentioned this earlier, we can just say quit, and that is pretty much it. So this will end our code, and you'll get that message where it says process finished with ... Anyway, so this is going to be our intro screen, and we haven't called it yet, so that's what I'm going to do for now. So I'm going to leave a couple of spaces right here, and I'm going to call in intro screen, and no parameters inside. So I'm just going to tab it one line, and yep, no more errors. Perfect. So now let's try out our code. I'm going to save my code and click run. So obviously Pygame will take some time, so I will pull this file up when it's all set and ready. Alright, so I got a couple of errors. The first one was because I had a bunch of extra brackets right here, so make sure you just have the brackets the way I have them right here. And also for some reason PyCharm is having some trouble recognizing which intro screen I'm referring to, since the variable and the function have the same name. So what I'm going to do is to rename intro screen to be intro screen like that, and now PyCharm shouldn't really have any trouble recognizing that. So now make sure you do all the changes right there, and also right here you want to make sure global intro screen is going to be set up this way. Okay, and now right here you obviously want to change this to be the picture, which is what we want to blit on the screen. And once you're done with that, you should be able to save your program and then run it successfully. So now you can see that we have our nice little intro screen right here, and when we press the A key, we have our spaceship. Pretty cool. Let's get into moving our spaceship now. So for moving our spaceship, things are going to be a little bit more complicated than just having a bunch of keys pressed. Okay, now the reason I'm doing this is because things are going to be so much easier if we do it this way. And what I'm going to do is to have a whole class for this. Okay, and I'm not really sure where I'll set up this class. I'll probably do it right here after the starfighter data. Okay, so here is where I'm going to do it. So I'm going to say class, and I'm going to call this class shooter. Okay, just for the sake of it. And it's going to inherit from nowhere, so I'm going to type an object inside that, and I'm just going to get right into our def __ init function, and we are going to have a whole lot of parameters. Okay, so I'm going to say self comma x. Okay, then we're going to have y. Okay, then we are going to have image. Okay, so image, and that's it for now. Okay, we'll get into more parameters a little bit later. Or actually, I just changed my mind. Let's just have in the other two parameters first. Okay, it's going to be width and height. Okay, and we will have another parameter, but we'll get into that one later. So inside our def __ init function, I'm going to have some pretty simple class code, which you probably are familiar with. If you're not, then please check out the object-oriented programming series that I put up a couple of weeks ago, because that'll give you a complete idea of how classes and objects work, and you will find it difficult to understand without that knowledge. So self.x equal to x, let me actually just duplicate that line. Okay, so x, let's duplicate that, self.y equal to y, and self.width, and I just keep misspelling width for some reason. So self.width equal to width, self.height equals to height, and that is pretty much going to be it. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is to load in the image, and I'm actually going to set it as a class variable because that's generally a better practice. So the first variable is going to be starfighter image, so I'm going to say image equal to starfighter underscore image. Okay, and before we move into the further code, there's another variable which is well, and this is going to hold the velocity of the starfighter. I'm going to set it to be like 3 for now, but we'll see how it goes. Okay, and right after this I'm going to have another method, and this is going to be def draw. Okay, and this is going to be like a custom method. So right here what I'm going to say is win.blit, and I'm going to blit the starfighter image. So I'm going to say self.image, and after that I'm going to blit it in self.x, comma self.y. Perfect. So now once you're done with this, that is going to be, I think, all the code that you need within your starfighter. So I'll just have in some spacing there, and let's get into our main loop. Okay, so instead of having all these win.blits within our main loop, what is generally better and is used by programmers is to write a redraw game window. Okay, so what I'm going to do is to say def, okay, redraw game screen. Okay, and this is going to be pretty much it. And I'm going to call in, actually let's just use win as a global. Alright, so within this loop, what I'm going to do is to just copy paste all this code right here, including the pygame.display.update. So control X and control V. Perfect. So now, yeah, we'll still be getting some spacing there. Okay, perfect. So now what I'm going to do is, instead of having all of that within this loop, I'm just going to call in a redraw game screen right at the end of it. That is it. So this will execute all the code within this function, and now all we need to do is the movement of the starfighter. Now since we're blitting the starfighter or drawing the starfighter every single time at its x and y coordinates, what we just have to do is to update our x coordinates. Okay, so I'm going to say something that is very similar to what we did right here. Okay, I can actually just copy paste that code, and let's paste it right here. So oops, yeah, paste. Perfect. So now I'm going to rename this to be keys, and here I'm going to rename it k to be keys as well. Perfect. So if this is the case, if the key A is pressed, not A in our case, now we'd want a right arrow, and I think this is going to be right, and I think that is the case. So p.k underscore right. Well, in this case, obviously we're not interested in intro. We're just going to be setting the starfighter velocity, and keep in mind we haven't declared an object yet, but I'm going to be calling it starfighter. So I'm going to say starfighter dot x plus equal to starfighter dot vel. Okay, and right here I'm going to copy paste this code once again, and for our left arrow key, I'm just going to do the opposite. I'm just going to say starfighter dot x minus equal to starfighter dot vel. Perfect. So now that you have this, now let's declare an object right here. So I'm going to say starfighter is, I just keep misspelling stuff, sorry about that, starfighter equal to shooter. So the parameters were x200. Actually the x parameter was different, but I really don't care much about the x parameter right now. And width and height is obviously going to be starfighter underscore width, comma starfighter underscore height. And there's one more thing that we want to do before I forget it, and that is obviously changing this. So we need to blit. We actually don't even need to blit stuff. Okay, I just need to draw the starfighter. So I'm going to say starfighter dot draw, and that is pretty much it. I also will change the stupid error before I overlook it, and if we do this, we'll just be moving right and left and we won't go anywhere. So perfect. Once you're done with this, there's one last thing that you have to do for this code to work, and that is to add in a small delay so that our code doesn't progress too fast. So I'm just going to say p dot time dot delay, and I'm going to add in a delay of 100 milliseconds. Okay, and you probably didn't see this code line of code before, so I'm going to delete that before. I'll actually show that in the next video, although I did plan it to do it right now. So now when we run our program, now you can see that although we do move slowly, we still move. And the reason I chose a pretty slow velocity is because when we start to get into frame rates and all that stuff, you will see that this velocity is not going to be this slow, and it'll actually be pretty fast for the starfighter on level 1. And we will be increasing our velocity as we move on to level 2, level 3 and so on. But all of that will be done in the next video, and that's it we'll be doing for now. If you've enjoyed this video, please make sure you leave a like, and also don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.